very good evening and a warm welcome to the program. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, the NTV Uganda studios. And tonight we'll be speaking about gender-based violence. My guest is a bit uncomfortable, mostly because she's used to print. Yeah, you're used to writing and then nobody can see your face and then you just get her with so much stuff. Well, it's TV. Now we're going to look at you. Carol Nyangoma Mkisa she's a columnist in our daily newspapers, but she's also a writer. She's writing a book, and she's a social analyst and a humanitarian, among other things. Carol, it's good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Josephine.
Are you feeling a bit more relaxed now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Tell me about your columns in the papers. What do you write about?
I'm a social analyst, like you said, and so I write about general things, especially with a social perspective, but my concentration is on women's rights, actually humanitarian rights and welfare. I hate injustice, I hate unfairness, so I cannot prove that I do not like them unless I put them in writing. And normally people give attention to what they read, not what we talk about. So I decided to put them in writing so that they can remain there for references, and in that way I advocate for the better welfare of humanity.
In recent times, what's been the most frustrating thing that you've seen that goes against, you know, that promotes gender-based violence or promotes all the injustices that you fight against?
For the last 2 weeks, I've learned about cases of domestic violence. There is someone who lost a life in, I think, Koboko. It was out of domestic violence, and it sparked out of disagreements over money, financial management in a home. So that hit me so hard that despite the many lives that have been lost due to GBV and domestic violence, still we are losing the same people, irrespective and despite all the efforts that have been made by the government, by civil society organizations to end the vices. So it hits me so hard when someone loses a life over just a disagreement.
You know, there's usually when civil society and government and when they have these conversations, sometimes it feels like you're talking to yourselves in your bubble. You have all of these terms and, you know, these things that everybody else that's listening says, huh? And they switch off. So I want us to describe what gender-based violence is to you, a writer, a communicator.
Yes.
How do you explain it to us?
Gender-based violence, I will do what you've told me. It is just violence against someone basing on their sex, basing on their gender. For instance, if in our family you give all the men the rights to inherit property and you deny me the right as a woman or as a daughter, that's gender-based violence. Giving someone, denying someone a right to resources, to opportunities, basing on their gender. And it's not just about women, but also men. You expect that a man should not be crying. When a man cries, oh, this is a shame. Why not? They also have emotions. You understand?
I saw one of the social media platforms recently, there was a conversation. One of the radio stations had, you know, the hosts were having a conversation about men crying, and one said that's weakness, and you know, it was and I guess sometimes it's just for the debate of it, but it sends out such a message that even for people who are beginning to come to terms with it's okay to express yourself, they shrink back into this space of, you know, weakness and so on. So it's good that you bring in the men in this, you know, conversation.
And Josephine, supplement on that, why do you think so many men are running crazy or having mental illnesses as compared to women? Men do not have who to talk to. When they express their emotions, they're being less of men. In fact, they're called women, you know. So it's as if they have different blood or different feelings. They also break down. So we need to accept the fact that we are all human and we are liable to experience different emotions, and we have the rights to experience them. And this does not actually concern only the crying bit, but even expressing love. When your husband goes into public, when carrying a baby, or maybe he picks up himself and arranges your hair, that would be like, okay, I think he's bewitched. So it's okay, it's okay for a woman to stand up and arrange a man's hair or collar, but for a man it will be witchcraft. Meaning even men have been actually violated in terms of expressing care for their people. Even when a man feels like he should cook, but he'll be like, okay, my mother-in-law will call me a woman.
Or you should stay home and take care of the kids.
Oh, that one. No. So
I think for the longest time, when you say gender-based violence, the definition quickly runs to actual violence. Someone is being hit, somebody has been killed. So when you put this perspective that is not the violence that, you know, we've come to attach to the tag, it's different. Give me some examples.
What we just explained about is actually emotional violence. Like someone is pressed or not express what they feel because of the social perspectives and social thinkings and narratives. But basically, for instance, we talked about economic violence where someone is denied rights to own property, the land. For instance, only 21% of women in Uganda own land individually or privately. So that alone shows you the differences in land ownership. Yet many of them are capable, but because of the social definings and narratives, they cannot do so. So we have examples of like chairpersons or chairman, like chairman Wechalo, you know, like the chairman of this village. Can there be a chairwoman or chairperson? How many LCs in your village, Josephine, are women?
But you know, I've also come to learn and to see it now more than before, that when you say chairman and then, you know, you say chairwoman, they don't want to, they say no, the title is chairman. So even me, I am chairman. So these things get confusing. So I want you to break that down for me.
So basically, the whole point is we need to really go back to the drawing board and allow women to explore all the roles, all the political opportunities, all economic opportunities, social opportunities. You know, when I'm a woman and I go to my village in Intungamo district, Kajara, to ask for votes, they will force me to kneel down because I'm a woman. So I have
to be married.
Don't even go there. You have to be married. In fact, the first question is, does she have a husband? You know, so thing is, we are pushing ourselves on the wall of we just have to do this because the public deems so.
Yeah, without concentrating on titles, women really should have the same opportunities, you know, that men do. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yes.
When you think about the information that's out there, maybe just to put this conversation into context, do you have some figures that would help us better understand why conversations on gender-based violence should not happen only on the big days, or, you know, why there are constant conversations that we need to constantly put out there?
Yeah, and to remind the public, actually, these statistics are always available in the newspapers, on radios. We also have to take up the personal responsibilities of looking out for them. But so far, more than 1 in 5 women, in 5 women have actually experienced sexual abuse. More than 1. And for men, it is more than 1 in 10. So basically, women are ×2 as compared to men. And 1 in 3 women have experienced gender-based violence. So that shows you the magnitude of the problem.
So if you're 3 friends,
yes,
1 of you has experienced it.
Exactly. When you consider the general population, half of the population have actually experienced sexual violence in one or the other. And remember, when you consider Uganda as a country, the population below 15 years of age is actually 50%. So we need to draft policy. Actually, policies are already in place, but the implementation.
We keep having that conversation on implementation.
As usual.
Give me more figures,
yes,
that point to how big the problem is.
How big the problem is. I should go back to the economic abuse to find that only 21% of women own land. That alone hits so much. And you know what? Much as the abuses are there, people are not accessing the help, like the legal help. The police report shows that only 85% of Ugandans, only 50% of Ugandans can access legal aid.
Only 50%?
15%.
15%.
15%. And remember, this 15% is concentrated. It is city-centric. It is in the city. In your village, how many lawyers do you know there where you get a problem and you can run to a lawyer? In fact, when you talk about other people, don't even know that lawyers exist. So that much shows. And when you go to police, we all know what happens there.
I don't know what happened. I think we know, but just so that it doesn't feel
corruption
like
has
attacking.
eaten up the whole society, honestly. Yeah, and you're not likely to get help from there. A very few individuals. In fact, cases of GBV that have case of GBV and child abuse and domestic violence, the ones which are selling are those that have a high monetary benefit. Like, this case has a lot of money, so they follow it up. Perhaps a daughter of someone special has been abused, so they follow it up just for money interest. But if you do not have the technical know-how, cases are always thrown under the bed, and that keeps on taking back the same thing every day, GBV, because we do not have a way out. Policies are there, implementation, negative.
What do you think are the underlying causes for all of the things that you've just described?
Social institutions, the culture beliefs. I mean, like we're talking about marriage. If you are not married, don't even talk in public. You have no respect. And don't blame your parents. They have also had that from their parents. So the problem it's the vicious cycle of problems. So these perspectives, this narrative needs to be broken down. By who? Me and you, Josephine. If your daughter is not married, tell her you're still beautiful. Sometimes these girls are actually going through a lot, and they need social psycho support. But what do we do as a community? We judge them. We are unsafe spaces for them.
How old are you now? At the Christmas gatherings? Any gathering. I see a lot of people on social media saying, we're going home this weekend. The first question they're going to ask me is, and it's funny, but then when you really think about what it signifies,
yes,
it's the larger problem that you're speaking about. Yeah, you don't have a child yet. What is the matter with you? Huh? Yeah. And
no, and these pressures, by the way, these pressures affect every hemisphere of our lives. Be it at your workplace, because you're thinking of the same thing. Actually, when December draws close, you're like, now what answers? You've had cases of where people are hired to be introduced as my... So really, it's that bad. We laugh because Ugandans are good at really like getting comic at everything. But sometimes these things are painful, by the way, Josephine. They have thrown people into depression. The mental illnesses are growing high every day. When I move on Entebbe Road, every 10 minutes that I see, one of them is talking to themselves. And I started thinking, okay, now, what is not happening? It's that bad.
All right, so you've spoken about the cultural aspect to it.
Yes.
And society, I guess.
Institutions.
Okay, talk to me about the institutions.
Okay, now, for instance, my niece was at school and they told them to draw activities of what their parents do. So this niece of mine names washing and cooking as part of the activities the father does. The teacher crosses the answer. So the girl goes back and says, but then this is what my father does at home. The teacher says, no, this is wrong. This was supposed to be put on your mother. And
what did she put for her mother?
The mother, she put cleaning and then going for work, I think.
Going for work?
Yeah, like
did they cross it as well, the going for work? Her mother?
That one was okay, but for a man of cooking and cleaning, the answers were actually crossed because, you know, so institutional background. So from then, the girl got to know that, oh, my father does wrong all along.
But you know what, Carol,
yes.
because I've seen a similar scenario before, and I think where we are at fault is the answer is crossed, the child comes back and you the parent, you know that this answer was crossed and the teacher rejected it and now my child thinks like this. We never go back to the school and say, listen, this thing that you are teaching our children is not right.
Do parents even have time to go through the...
Okay, when you say that, then let's take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. I'm in the studio with Caro Nyangoma Mukisa, and we're speaking about gender-based violence tonight. And Caro, one of the things that you spoke about before we took the break, earlier in the conversation was in families, how fathers will give property to the boy children, yes, and ignore the girl children. I mean, now the girl children are working for their own property because they know that they're not going to inherit anything. I wanted to ask, have you witnessed that in your work, maybe in your own family, in your as you went about, have you witnessed it?
A big deal. A big deal. Up to now, this thing, much as the government has permitted women to inherit property and have ownership of property, we thank the government for that. But the issue is, when you go to the grassroots, actually some people still think it is a taboo for a woman to inherit property. Why would a woman get married and her bed is burnt? Should I say it happened to me?
Her bed is burnt?
Of course. Josephine, where are you from that you don't know all these things?
Please inform my ignorance. Why is her bed burnt?
Because she should not go back. Like, she should go to her parents, to her husband's home and her parent-in-law's home, and that's her new home.
So she should never come back to visit?
If she's to come back, it should just be maybe for like a short time, but not to really
not
like,
to spend a night.
Yeah, be there for some good time.
If she's beaten up, beyond, and
that she should do everything possible to make sure she's not beaten. If she's beaten, she has somewhere she should go. Right. So I've experienced these things. I've been a victim of GBV. I'm from a family where men are considered to be like to have the right to really own property, and we women are always sidelined. When I talk about family, I talk about an extended family where I've seen these things happening, and it hits me so hard. What pushed me to actually go on this, join this journey of fighting for women, for women's rights, and perhaps men's rights, is we are the same blood. We are the same children. Why should, Josephine, why should you have a different kind of opportunities that I cannot have?
I don't have the answer.
Okay, the issue is there are so many questions and a few answers, but we need these answers at one time. Reason being, these things actually making women, like you said, they work with anger and rage. Let me prove a point. I couldn't be given this, let me work for it.
Let me make my way.
Exactly.
Let me find my own burial grounds. Huh? I don't know why we're laughing at all of this, but I think another thing that, in speaking about this conversation, that is important for us to look into is the workplace. So, when you leave the family space, you come to work and you're working with rage and you want to, make something of yourself, but there's also roadblocks here.
Very many, very many. At workplaces, we can talk about health barriers, like as women, you're in your menstrual periods, but you don't have facilitation. And, a woman loses...
Explain that facilitation.
Okay, yeah, I'm going into all that detail, but thing is, in a month, a woman loses about 10 hours just concentrate on her menstrual cycle hygiene, because there is going to the ladies or those to change, and but they expect, my boss expects same results. He appraises us, me and my male counterparts, with the same lenses and the same yardstick, not considering that I've lost time, I've lost hours breastfeeding, I've lost hours attending to my menstrual hygiene. The facilitation is not that I'm talking about like these buckets where we are supposed to throw in our used sanitaries. How many workplaces are facilitated with these materials? We are talking about spaces where we can breastfeed our children from. These are things, they are not new to the public, but we shall keep on talking about them until we get them. I mean, because if I cannot breastfeed my child and my child is healthy, it means psychologically I'm not settled to actually concentrate on my work.
I mean, before you even go that far, do you know when there's the need to breastfeed, how uncomfortable it is? You cannot walk.
Yes, and it's
you can't do anything. You need to get it out.
The headache. You've been there?
Yes, you have a headache, your back is hurting,
The sleepless nights. Those, in fact, to me, Nalongos, those people who give birth twins or even triplets, should be given a longer maternal leave.
6 months.
Oh, even 8.
Yeah. Okay, so speak to me about sexual advances at work. I know that that's something that you've witnessed. I don't know if experienced, but maybe it would give us some more insight into how that fits into the wider definition of gender-based violence. Yeah,
sexual violence is really one of those biting violences that are existent, and it's too bad that still they're called carpet interviews. Yeah, that even when you're interviewed through the carpet, you have to maintain the job through the carpet. Kwegama, the carpet even gets old, and at the end of the day, you are just for the same job. So I was a victim of that at my much former workplace. There were some advances here and there, but I had to quit. I had to say, you know what? I would rather leave the job and still remain with my self-respect than giving in. Because at the end of the day, when you give in, to me, it's no longer a job. It's no longer a job like considered a job. It is something else. You're in another, and you will never concentrate to work. Because you know what? These people always have new findings. So before you know it, you're already not as a hot cake as you used to be. And these new kids on the block, when they come, you start pulling ropes. All that for what?
When you quit your job, what was the exit interview? What did you write? What did you say? It's
never the truth, definitely. I always, because these social perspectives of Jova to Yombi. Why wouldn't I Kuyomba so that I leave a mark of I've left for this?
So that's why I'm asking you. Why
I didn't say the truth. Well. In fact, that's why I'm coming out to really say that, to encourage women out there, or even men out there, if you get an experience, just be real and say, I'm living for this, so that it leaves a mark that due to this happened. Unfortunately, I wasn't open with my bosses to tell them that, yes, I'm living for this. But unfortunately, it was the reason. I just have to say I've gotten a better space to work from.
I mean, doesn't that point also to the wider issue of the environment, that I can't go to maybe the human resource person and say, listen, there's this happening, do we have a sexual violence or whatever policy. They call it, policy, do we have anything like that, and does it actually work, or will I get penalized when he's told and then he now turns the guns on me because why would you report me? I think it points to those larger issues. You shouldn't have to quit your job because it should be something that you're able to report and it's addressed. But of course, that's me wishing.
But also the happenings, Josephine. You've been keen on social media perhaps, and we've seen ladies coming out. Give an example of Brian White. You come out and say someone has abused me. I'm sure even this show is going to spark the same conversation of, she's lying. Like who can do that? So they also stigmatize us regarding our stories. They don't believe that they are real. They bash you. Men who bash you share. Like, are you young? Like, you get. So even the way the public perceives this information, interprets it and treats it, scares us. It freaks us out. Always remain silent and say, you know what? I've gotten greener pastures. But there's nothing like greener pastures. We are just living out of violence. Not many of us can stand and see all this drama unfold amidst our positions and image.
Kara, you run an organization, Warm Hearts Foundation, right?
Yes, please.
What do you do? What do Warm Hearts look like?
Warm Hearts is a group of about 7 people that indeed have warm hearts. The origin of the name is, we looked at the communities, we looked at the societies. There is a lot of cold out there. There is a lot of, very many people will not give you a shoulder to lean on, even your own parents. By the way, many people apparently do not confide in their own parents, or even their own siblings, or even sisters, or even cousins.
It's how we are socialized. You do not take something. The parents' job is to provide, and then that's it.
But
you
some
find
parents
your friends
go
out
beyond
there.
that. Some parents go beyond that. So we said, amidst the cold environment, let us be warm hearts. Let us be warm chests, warm hands, warm hearts, so that if you have any issues regarding GBV, gender-based violence, domestic violence, child abuse, we are here to help you in the most affordable way we can. We offer social cycle support. We offer economic empowerment through training young people into different skills like knitting skills. We offer legal help or legal aid. So far we are dealing with about 20 cases in Mkono of GBV and child abuse. We do offer, like, of course, the writings, much as in most cases are mother-led, but they're all courtesy of the organization to sensitize the public about GBV, about any abuses, to encourage the young people, to inspire the young people, to mentor, to generally make the spaces, make the environment a better place to live in.
Are your services free for, you know, the people that you target?
Yeah, free. Unless really like, but for the case of the legal aid, sometimes we incur costs, definitely. As an organization, yes, we incur costs. But we try to do it in the most affordable way, so that at least someone can, if they don't get justice, at least they will get knowledge about their rights, like the rights to socialization, the rights to move, to speak, and all that. You cannot get it like all at like on a silver plate, but at least knowledge is rich. When you're knowledgeable and empowered with the knowledge, you can be able to defeat these social constraints, simple constraints. Because some people regard it like, go downtown, they will tap you, they will do everything. But when you know you have a right of keeping your body safe, you will be like, one time I almost slapped a man in Goyegere. In fact, should I say I did? Okay, something like that. So I was just around the market in Goyegere about 5 or 6 years back, just minding my business, and I got out of a taxi and this man tapped on my chest. And it was not a good moment.
What happened?
Okay, we had a disagreement.
I think that the fear for many women why they don't turn and say something, like you're downtown, you know, you're walking and they do something like that. Women fear to bring uncalled for attention on themselves, because these guys will rally themselves and just make you feel like you are, I don't know. So most people usually just keep walking and just let it go. and I think that's how it grows, because then it becomes, no, if you don't want that to happen, you don't go downtown. If you get, and so that becomes the narrative.
And that's what abuse is. They deny you, such happenings deny you rights to movement. Why wouldn't I go downtown? You get? So it starts like that. Apparently, I, Carol, can never, ever go to downtown. Never.
You can never?
Josephine? I can't. Because it makes me sick for just someone from nowhere to come and tap my behind. By the way, I detest GBV that much. It makes me bitter. Why would you tap me?
Violation.
Exactly. Yeah. It tortures you. It brings bad feelings. It is horrible.
All right, Kari, we're going to take another short break and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're having a conversation with Carol Nyangoma Mkisa on gender-based violence. Carol, you've been in this space following up on what happens or what's happening in regards to GBV for a while now. And I want to ask you, where have we failed, or who is failing in the fight?
The community first. We always run to authorities. When we ask the word failing, we always run to authorities and hold them responsible. But I'm saying otherwise, and saying the community, the families. Yeah. We've gone to we are a grassroots organization, and we're always on the ground to see the happenings, to go into homes and interview people and talk to them about their real life stories. There was one case that happened about 2 months back. I was interviewing a girl who is a victim of teenage pregnancy. She was impregnated at 14 years. And so when I talked to her, I tried and squeezed to get him, because we wanted to offer legal aid to this girl so that as someone who's abused, she can get justice and fairness, you know. The girl refused completely to talk to us. We asked, she refused, and on asking around, we discovered that the parents told her never ever to say anything like that. So we are failing ourselves to actually also help the community, because if such a girl actually gets justice, it sets an example to the whole
Sends
community.
a message.
Yeah. So we are failing ourselves. We are the ones bribing the police so that justice does not get done or does not prevail. So me and you, I always challenge people to always start from themselves. What are you doing? Is there any roadblock you've put against someone or yourself? Like what I did when I lost my job. To me, I did injustice to myself by not speaking up. You know, if I spoke up at that time, perhaps the people who have remained in the organization could have been helped in one or the other. Perhaps the perpetrator is still doing the same in the same organization, because I moved away.
You never even know if when all of this is happening, it's just happening to you or to 4, 5 other women that are in the same space as you.
And likely it's happening.
Yeah.
Because I'm not special. It doesn't have to be me. So the vicious circle of abuse, you know. So to me, what is failing us ourselves,
but
the
also
fears.
this narrative of I'm not special, I think it takes away from
the special
women's
bit.
Willingness or fight to maybe be able to stand up and say, I mean, whether you're special or not,
Yeah, true.
it shouldn't be happening to you. And
You're
if
right.
it does, you should be able to put your foot down and say, listen,
right.
no. So yeah, okay, community.
Yeah, the special bit of it, like I'm bringing it out in a way that we all have the right to a safety environment. So if it can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anyone. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm bringing up the special bit of the narrative. So the community first, and of course the authority, the LCs, they're being bribed every time you go to a community, ask for the LC, then they start telling you this failed, because I'm always in touch with a community-based chairman, and whenever I contact them, they always complain they don't have fuel, but you need fuel to go to a neighborhood and actually ask what is happening. So they have monetized almost every activity. No one is willing to do a service, and to me, this else is actually doing service to the people, not just for monetary terms, unless the monetary bit comes in, you know. So it's all about Nufuninamuwa. How do I gain from this case? When you go to police, most of us know what is happening. The corruption rate is just stinking. When we go to the government institutions, the schools themselves, we've had cases of where a child has been defiled and the teacher is actually hiding the perpetrator. The headmaster himself is doing the same. The religious leaders, Josephine, too bad. We've had parents who are defiling their own children. So when we talk about who is failing who, we are just failing. Everyone is failing themselves, irrespective of which position you are in, whether authoritative, whether not authoritative, whether you have, you know. So all the same, the problem is just broad, and it is just grassrooted, and we just have to approach from the family to the bigger community, to the bigger picture, then to the international community. Yeah, that way we are good to go.
What would you like to see start to happen? Like immediate steps that lead us to the bigger picture of what it should be like to create some kind of safe space. And I told you I don't like to use the word safe space, but an environment where women begin to thrive, where gender-based violence is not at the forefront of all issues that are related to women.
I personally, the first space, or the first action, is making people get to know the reality. Some people are victims of gender-based violence, but they don't know. Someone takes it like, yes, I should be sold off as a daughter when I'm getting married.
That's why I asked you to define gender-based violence, because I told you that the feeling that's out there is gender-based violence is you were beaten,
physical.
You were hit. Yeah, it was that physical exchange. So I think the understanding of that it's more than the physical. Actually,
Josephine, I must say that gender-based violence and domestic violence are two different things. Domestic violence is the violence that occurs within the home setting. And it's what's always mistaken to be physical always. But for gender-based violence, it is the violence, any form, be it emotional, okay, you said I should not use terms, but emotional, any insults, anything, seeing you like, the violence starts from such narratives, such small statements. You understand? They're the ones that limit us. You know, when you say marriage is like a kitchen where there is smoke, so you have to gumira smoke, you have to stand the smoke. You're basically telling people, you know what? Whatever happens, it is the smoke. Just consume the smoke. Even if you get burned from there, continue and keep on keeping on consuming the smoke until you actually suffocate.
Don't embarrass us.
Thank you. Don't embarrass us. You are our representative. Please. So you do everything possible to make sure you don't embarrass people as you are actually just dying off. And when you die, you're not dying for anyone, by the way. You will go and we shall move on. You understand? That's how cruel the environment has become. It's a cold environment. So thing is, the unsafety bit of it is just random, and we have been the catalysts of all these abuses, depending on how we handle situations, and social media has taken everything out of context. By the way, so many people have been thrown into depression out of cyberbullying. I think you had a story of, was it Cindy or Fear or something like that? I think one of them. These statements they say on social media themselves can actually draw you back.
There's the cover that people have on social media. You can't see my face, so I can put out anything and not be even held accountable for the things that I put out. Things they would never say in person, they can say online because they're not in the physical space with you.
But you know, all that is because of ignorance. Some of these things we are doing always bounce back. Whatever action, whatever you say on social media, in a way, it's actually sending a message. It is getting someone abused somewhere in a way. It is torturing someone out there. Most of these things are said by people out of ignorance. That's why you ask that what should be done. First, sensitize the masses about their rights.
Carol, as we close the show, yes, for the person that's watching, the young woman, the parent that's watching, what would you like them to take away from all of the things that we've spoken about?
I really love, and I would like to see a society where a parent is playing their roles irrespective of the busy schedule, because the community is not going to understand that you're a busy parent. You know, my child turned out a bastard because I was busy, so he has stolen a lot of money, but just forgive him because I was a busy parent. No. The society won't understand. The future will not understand what you went through as a parent. So you must devise means of being there for your family. You must devise means of playing your role. You know, we're talking about these boys of like the boys who are smelling in quotes. The man who rebuked them could not find the real background of why would a 15-year-old or 20-year-old be smelling. Do these people have families? Are their families functional? What is their state, their socio-psycho state, their economic state? What is that? So we need to go back to the roots of why things are happening the way they are happening. And everything starts from the family. That's why I always tell people, go back to your family. If you want to change the world, go back and love your family. And love is practical. Listen to your children. Do things with them, because everything basically gets rooted from there. To me, that will do wonders for the communities.
Carol, you are a writer, you are a columnist now, but I know that you are working on a book that we'll put on our shelves, that we'll read first before we put on the shelves. Yes. What is it about?
It's about fatherhood, because apparently most fathers have abdicated their responsibilities. So I'm using also my personal experience as a lady who is so close to my father. I saw how his activity or his care and passion impacted on my career, on my character. So I'm using my personal experience and the happenings I always see in the communities. Because when you go to communities, basically it is just full of single mothers. It is abnormal, like every community. Single mothers, crying single mothers. So I'm actually telling men, telling women, please, a father still matters. It doesn't matter where. Of course, we women always say, no, we shall make it. It is okay, by the way. We are making it. But it doesn't derive men of their responsibilities. It doesn't tell men to back off. So I'm rejuvenating the role of a father in a child's life. And I'm making fatherhood attractive in that book. So fathers out there, look out for that book. And fathers to be.
All right. Carol, any final thoughts for our audience that's listening in?
Well. Let's not get hard on these things. Let's just be practical. Before you do anything, ask yourself, will this benefit my community or myself? If I were the person of the high profile, would I do this? Let us build a community which we shall be proud of.
If I had all the lenses of the world on me, the same way people are constantly watching celebrities and picking out, would I be doing what I'm doing?
Exactly. They say decency is what you do when no one is watching.
Yeah.
So we have to really check out ourselves. And before you throw any judgment on anyone, first look at yourself. Are you doing the right thing? Because basically everything is around what we do as individuals.
All right. Thank you very much, Carol,
You're
for
welcome.
taking the time to speak with us.
You're welcome.
I am glad that you got over the nerves and you got into the conversation. It was a pleasure having you,
Thank you
on the show.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our show for tonight. Coming up is NTV Weekend Edition.